So I'm going to start by saying that I felt this, but I didn't realize what scale it was until I went to a couple different events, learned how behind I was and how ahead I was, I guess, both. That Anthropic and Claude had been doing specifically in the accounting and finance world. I think that the models were already very, very good, but I feel like the timing was December, and I felt this very much, how Claude just became really, really, really good at Excel. But I think what that really meant is that it was really good at the nuances of finance, the way we click around, the way the data models are related to each other, the way like drop downs worked and things like that. And so that has quickly evolved into a Claude Excel plugin, which we were going to record this last week, and now ChatGPT has come out with another plugin. And Claude Cowork, which is the desktop version of Claude Code, and then really just how good the model is at understanding finances nuances. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen really quick.
Please go ahead.
Let's do the entire screen. If anything embarrassing pops up, we will attempt to edit it out. That has to be it. Okay. So let's start with normal Claude. So normal Claude, as we all kind of know it, is this chat interface on the web. And many of us have heard a ton about Claude Code, which I have attempted to use, and realistically, it's still this terminal interface, which is amazing, and this does really amazing stuff, but it is somewhat intimidating for some of us that have not used or worked directly in this. But this little guy is super cute, and he makes me happy every time I see it. What they have done is if you download the desktop version of Claude, you actually get this, which looks a lot like the web interface, but this is on my computer. And so you'll see three things: chat, cowork, and code. And so if I went to code, you'd see that same little cute guy, which I think is so fun, but I won't get distracted. Cowork is essentially Claude Code with a interface that is super intuitive for like a business user. And so they've kind of launched this as Claude Code for business users, or Claude Cowork, because it really turns Claude into your coworker, which is a little bit different than you going into the web interface and like copy and pasting things into the web interface and then taking your presentation and pulling it down. It just works directly in your folders. And so maybe one thing that I wanted to show is there's been a lot of talk about like Claude skills, which are essentially templatized instructions, but that you can stack. So like you can have a design skill or a NetSuite JE uploader skill. But there are certain skills, or maybe not the right word is skills, but like there are actual plugins that have actually been built by Anthropic and influenced by their finance team. And I actually downloaded one of the finance pack that we could so that we could play with it. So let me actually just show you what the plugins are from this. And so you could see this browse plugins. This has caused a lot of I think people get sometimes afraid of this because it's like, oh my gosh, it just wiped out this. And that might also be true, but it also is something that you can use. So I would lean on, none of us know where all this is going. It is changing super, super fast. Learning from all of this is way better than not learning. So what I've done right now is I've done the download of the finance pack. I'm just going to quickly scroll through this so that you can see the other options: productivity, enterprise search, sales, data, legal. That was one that people were really interested, especially when we got to like ASC 606 contract reviews. You can kind of see that coming up. Marketing, customer support, product management, Slack by Salesforce, but all of these kind of like pre-packed plugins that have...
Can you pause there for a second? How did you get to this? How did you get to this, just for the audience to make sure they can follow along?
I was I'm in the downloaded desktop Cowork interface.
Yeah.
And then in this dropdown, I think that's where I had it. To be totally honest, I had to look for it a little bit. Add files, connectors, and more. Oh, actually, it was there. So this little plus, you can go to plugins and then add plugin. And there are ones that are by Anthropic and partners. And then you can also create plugins as well. So for example, you might be hearing, oh, NetSuite created a plugin, or Salesforce created a plugin, or Figma created a plugin. This is kind of where it's going. And actually, even this I feel like is outdated, because I want to say Friday, or within the last 5 days, Claude announced its marketplace. So where these will live and how or if these will be monetized will be very interesting, because you can think about the easier your app is to interact with some of this functionality, the better, because remember, the underlying models are constantly being updated. And Opus 4.6, I feel like, was a little groundbreaking for the finance and accounting world. So I would look out for this.
You need to make sure that you have everything enabled for it as well, right? You need to make sure that you have connectors enabled and any of the settings in place in order to make sure that it works out. And
I actually didn't turn on the connectors here. And so the example that I'll show would be unconnected, but I could see very much in this example that I'll show that a connector would have been very helpful to make this repeatable in an ongoing workflow.
Okay.
I have this plugin, and if I go into this plugin, you can see that there are a couple things that they're saying that they've pre-made. And so these are skills. See this / income statement, / SOX testing, variance analysis, journal entry, and reconciliation. These are kind of like pre-packed instructions that the model can use to make this more nuanced and domain specific. And so the one that I chose to play with was generate an income statement with variance analysis. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then I'm going to show you the file that I'm starting with. And so I've created this dummy data file of this fake company called NeuroOps, and I created a dummy file of NetSuite JE search sample. So this is a set of journal entries from 2025 to 2026. And you can see that this data set is about 231 lines, not huge, but enough to be dangerous and play with on a demo. So if I go back to my Claude Cowork, I can say, use this NetSuite save searched to create a Flux analysis so that I can see what is going on. Again, I have that plug-in already there, and let me just make sure that I am choosing the right folder. So that should go into my, let's see, where did I do this? I think I have this file in many different places. No, it should be in there. Okay, it should be in this participant pack. Again, I did this AI Finance Lab, so it's in there. And in this file, there is actually a couple different pieces of dummy data. This just happens to be the NetSuite JE Safe Search, and that file is named that. I didn't tell it the exact file name. I should probably do this because that might throw it off. But it's close enough that it knows which file to look for. And again, I wasn't very specific. That's that semantic piece about AI. It's like it knows the intent of what I'm trying to say, and it knows that it's not going to pick up any other things because one of them is kind of called Save Search. So let's go and let's see what it does. And so while this is going, again, this is running on my desktop with the file. So it's using the file in my desktop. So I didn't like copy and paste anything in there. I didn't upload a file. It's working in my desktop, and then it should be creating another file again in my desktop the way that Claude Code would do it, because it's essentially operating in my operating system. And it's able to read write specifically to the folder that I've given it access to. I want to say that particularly because I've been in places where I've been trying to figure out Claude Code where I accidentally gave it access to my root folder, and I quickly found out I was not supposed to do that. Again, as a non-technical person, I share that because I feel like my mistakes will help you with your mistakes. Claude Cowork makes that a little easier because you're like, I'm going to pick the specific file that I'm going to isolate your access to. And so I'll stop there. Devon, I'm curious, have you kind of hit that as well?
Yeah, so I think it's been really interesting about how fuzzy you can be with the logic when you're kind of going within the folders. But I'm being honest, I haven't played with the plugins. This is a new for me. I know about the skills. The plugins are a new functionality. So like this is one of those things where I'm a little surprised, and I'm trying to soak everything in that you're saying so I can understand how the difference is. Because and I'm curious, when you're going into this or while you're running it, are the plugins like a skill pack, or are those completely different things? Or is that something we got to look into?
I believe they are skill packs. And honestly, I was at this presentation that Adam Deeks did from Anthropic, and I was asking, I was like, oh, are the skills available as like a GitHub repo or a skill? And then like, I think that The words sometimes confuse me. I believe that they are skills because skills are truly just text documents, right, that give instructions.
Yeah.
And so I would think that the plugins are actually just instructions that are text as well. I'm quickly going to compare the choose this, and then let's jump back to that because I want it to run while we're talking. So it's
Okay, that
asking
sounds
me
good.
a couple
Yeah.
questions. And one thing that I really like about Claude right now is that we used to talk a lot about hallucinations or being really upset about kind of the outputs that you get. I find that they're getting more and more prescriptive of asking clarifying questions so that we can be more precise. So I'm actually going to do the month over month. So I'm just going to choose one. Sometimes I choose multiple options. Oops. But then it's going to do that. And it's probably going to ask me, okay, so what do I want? Account level, department class, summary by category. I'm going to say 1 and 2. Because I want both. Okay, and so it's gonna start working on it. And it's taking that in my output. Okay, and now, what? It should be in the file. Let's see if maybe I didn't give it access to it. Let's see if it can find it. I don't want to cheat and do the other way because this is kind of the main functionality in Cowork.
It's okay. We take our time. We can always cut in between when there's lags. This is cool though. That's just nuts. It's right now. It's so nuts to me that there's this whole, because I just learned about skills like 2 weeks ago, and I learned about or 3 weeks ago, and how you can make these text files to make everything more efficient. And it makes sense that there'd be packs of skills that these companies would just throw at people. And my mind's kind of churning right now. So if I'm not responding, I'm just trying to think about all this.
This is why I have a hard time coming up with what we're going to talk about, because the thing is, quote unquote, old so quickly. But I've also realized that there's so many of us, right? And we all have normal jobs. Maybe not me and you right now, but like, I mean, we do and we don't, but we get to exercise our curiosity, which is a luxury in many ways. So it's like the more you learn, the more you find out you're behind. And I think that that's totally okay, because one day you'll make a friend that's like, hey, did you see this thing? And that's actually maybe the fastest way to learn right now.
Yeah, I love meeting up with you just so we can share what we're learning, because there's always something new from one of us, right? If it's not me, it's you. One of us picked up a new trick over the week, which just shows you the pace of these tools, which is awesome. So I really appreciate you sharing this with me and the group.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's
because
working,
that's just. Oh, sorry.
I want to actually show this right bar. See how it's creating this little checklist of stuff that it's doing? This is kind of the functionality that is part of Claude Code that was so groundbreaking. The fact that it could plan, which is one of the agentic steps of before I actually execute, I'm going to plan, which one gives you the ability to correct that plan. It's kind of like if you had the best staff person ever and they're like, is this what you want me to do? After they documented what they were going to do. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes. And then maybe do this extra thing, right? As it's doing the steps, it's crossing off each one. And so that's what you're seeing here. This is kind of the power of Claude Code brought into the UI of just a user-friendly. But again, this was the kind of huge, like, amazing thing about Claude Code is that you can have steps and then agentically do them while you're like in meetings all day, and it's just all running on your desktop.
Yeah, and that's how it seems similar to anti-gravity from my perspective of how I would use it. Like I can work while also having something else work on things that I'm thinking about, and I can go forever. Like you could have a bunch of these essentially going. I'm sure you could run multiple instances, and that becomes an interesting constraint where it's like a human managing five ongoing tasks can be quite a lot while they're managing their day job. I think they'll eventually cap out. And what I am hearing people do is having things like students or offshored workers have burner laptops and all have different laptops running different instances of these in order to build out different types of files in order to maximize the potential. What I think is interesting about this and does seem like a game changer is if I was to work in anti-gravity, again, which is pretty brand spanking new, I would have to teach it or find the skills that I wanted to work on, decide that skill pack for it to work on it, figure out the folder, configure the folder, and spend some time through that planning of like, I was just doing a training on Friday, doing something similar where it's like someone was asking to do a reconciliation and variance analysis. I had to build out that skill, which took a little bit of time, not a ton of time, maybe 15 or 30 minutes that you just shaved off with this skill pack. And I'm guessing this skill pack is going to produce something better than I was able to create, which again is just, we're shaving off so much time off of all the thinking. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I'm curious, did that sound right to you? Did I miss anything there?
Absolutely. You nailed it. That is exactly what's happening. It's kind of like, here are all of your agents, i.e. your new coworkers, that are doing all of these things while you're in meetings, like a manager. And then you come back and review all the stuff that was made. And if you give them connectors, they're pulling things from NetSuite, from Salesforce, right? From all those things. And then you come back and you're like, let's see your work. And I'll click on that, view your Flux analysis. So look at what we created.
I love the banker colors.
It's like it was made by a finance accounting team, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's drill down to the department level. So look, it's giving me corporate R&D, sales services, variance, waterfall, favorable, unfavorable, favorable, and commentary. So this is pretty good. Let's see if it gave me any. Interesting. I was hoping it was going to give me the formulas that pulled it, and I could actually probably ask that, which I think will take a little bit of time, so I won't do it, but I feel like that's a good test. What I wanted to do is tell me what the plugin helped with. How did it make your work better? And I did this in another one, but like I think that this will also help us understand how these work together. And this is also just a really useful skill to learn, which is if you have a question, just ask it in the terminal. If you have a screen that you don't know what the hell's going on, just take a snapshot. Like it's actually the best way to troubleshoot stuff is just ask the silly question directly to it. And it's not a silly question, but it's, I would say this is the best actual skill to learn when using AI.
Yeah, learning to figure out what question you want to ask and just asking it directly and giving it the context for the question.
Yeah. So that structure consistency, proven framework, all of this. I'm going to quickly go back to the other one that I did this morning, actually, because I was testing this. And you can see it kind of did the same thing. It actually asked me one other question. It asked me for a materiality threshold, and I gave it 10%, which is something we often do. It gave me a Flux analysis here. It gave me those same 4 tabs, and you can tell the formatting and structure is the same. That's kind of how I know that it's using the same plugin skills. And then when I asked it, can you tell me what the plugin did and how? Maybe it was my how that gave it a little bit more, but it did say specific steps of decomposition methods, a waterfall format, narrative structure that a senior accountant would follow. Think of it as a how-to template for variance work.
Okay, and then I'm curious on the commentary. The commentary is that's where I always worry there's a hallucination risk because you don't necessarily provide it. Did you have in your source files, did you have any context you provided to this, or is it just making inference?
I did not, and to be totally honest, I have not reviewed the accuracy of this, so that would be my next step. I think I will always check it. And funnily enough, this question came up at the last, I think I went to Breck's conference, and one of the questions was, what do you think AI can't do right now? And everybody gave their answer, but in my head, my very fast and obvious answer was, it cannot take responsibility. And I think that's super important. I know that's kind of a silly answer, but it's also a very true answer. And I think that will hold true for a long time. We cannot sue AI. You cannot get in trouble. You can't get fired, right? So you are responsible. And I think that's super, super important because that is the one thing that AI cannot do. It cannot be responsible.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing because I can't tell you how many bosses I've had in my life where I'm pretty sure they hire certain people just to be responsible over risky areas they don't want to be. They want to have a finger to point to. Like, hey, that's a pretty risky area. I'm going to hire this person to manage that area. And if something goes wrong, I'm going to point the finger at that person, not myself, and that's not going away. And I think you nailed it here of this made a great output. And from my own experience with this, I imagine the numbers are probably quite accurate. And then the commentary probably is a reasonable inference, but you definitely want to review to make sure the total is summed up and that the commentary actually is reasonable. And it's probably going to do better than a staff or senior auditor or accountant making a fresh stab at it. It's not going to have all the context that you have about your business because you didn't, unless you provide it. And then,
yeah. Well, and that is an interesting part because as you architect this to be repeatable, and actually I might ask this step is, how do I make this repeatable every month? Connectors, memory, give me a whole plan to automate this workflow. And so like that's another kind of thing is like, if you don't know where to start with these like single file upload or single file use as your coworker. The same way you'd create like a special folder for your new staff person and drop everything in there. You're kind of doing the same thing. You wouldn't overwhelm your new coworker with all the files. I mean, sure, you gave them like Dropbox access or whatever, but you're like, oh, start with these couple docs. Same kind of thing. And then eventually you're like, okay, well now it's your job to automate this, or how would we do this over and over again? And then that employee typically gets really, really good. And actually it's funny. This is actually going into enter plan mode. And then now it's running sub agents and it's scheduling skill capabilities. Wow. I don't even know what it's doing. I'm excited.
it's crazy.
Let's see the steps.
This is just such a game changer. Like this is taking away tons of manual work. And if you had a professional to look over the number, like I know clients right now who are actively asking for out of the box solutions that they're willing to pay for automated Flux analysis. And then you could just do this. You just be like, oh, why don't you just run Claude Cowork?
Yeah. And then it's layering on the commentary, right? So like, oh my gosh, I've heard such interesting ways of updating this again from the Anthropic team. Which is, okay, so now you built this thing or this app or you did a Flux analysis. You probably went into a meeting to discuss the Fluxes, right? Let's say you recorded that meeting and you got a transcript. And then maybe you fed that transcript back into the thing that you already did and be like, update this. That actually makes your meetings useful. Like, I don't know how many meetings I've gone to and I'm like, why? Now I don't have time to get the work done, right? But like that actually makes your meeting like the updated requirements or the update to your file, which is insane.
That's amazing. That is a huge unlock.
Right.
Would pause anyone who, because that's the purpose of meetings, and we just suck at them because people get tired and bored. And if you're in 8 or 10 hours of meetings, you're trying to pay attention to it's hard to pay attention to everything. And many people in the profession are juggling their full-time jobs while they're attending the meetings. So a lot of them are just phoning in to what they think is important. But if you have access to all the transcripts and you know that that meeting is going to give you the context for your solution, be it org charts or Flux analysis or close commentary or investor relations discussions, it'll create it automatically. So the meetings do become necessary and productive for yourself, which makes a lot of sense. That's nuts.
Yeah. Now I've just shown thing with an Excel file. I haven't even gone to like app building or anything like that because I feel like this is a really great first step. But I will show you maybe one thing that that I did. I don't think I did on this computer, so I can't show the full build. But while this is going, because that's going there, I'm going to show you something else. And apologies for this not showing the full workflow, right? So we did 2 in December and then a couple this year, and we're running another one in a week. And it's all community-based. So, I want to keep it within the community as we're all learning, but like, what does enterprise finance look in terms of adoption in AI? And I think there are a lot of surveys that have been sent out, but the meat actually lives in the dialogue of how kind of you're playing with things, people building in Google Apps Script, like doing a lot of that is just contextual in transcripts. So I uploaded those transcripts and then I asked it to generate basically a little interactive website for me. And this is what it came up with. So I did 4 transcripts from each of those AI share forums. There we go. I just wanted those little numbers to show because it's kind of fun the way that it interacts. And what it did is it built this website for me that I haven't published. And what it does is it just says, here's the community. Where are teams right now? Like at the enterprise level, where still a lot of us are getting curious, mostly because there are many teams that don't have access to these model level tools like Claude, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Most of them have Gemini or Copilot. Copilot is getting much better by the day. Gemini already has this amazing context window. My favorite right now just happens to be Claude because it is getting insanely good at finance. But I think this number is really interesting, making things easier, 35%. Like a lot of people using Notebook LM, Google App Script. This should probably be a KA for clarity. And close management. So these are things that are actually popping up in those transcripts from these meetings. And then building customs, there are actually people that are really building like end-to-end agents, some of them on Snowflake Cortex, which I found to be super interesting. Some of them with NAN, actually like full workflow agent. But everyone should kind of be moving into this agentic world. Agentic sounds flashy a little bit, but like what are the components of agentic? It's that it can plan, it can use tools, it can collaborate with other things. It's more of a pattern, and that I would say if I had to nail down like the big game changer with agentic, it's just that you could pull from many sources and actually execute things exactly how you saw it do it on my desktop with Cowork. There's a couple bugs in this, but you could see how like this is insane that I just uploaded some transcripts and this is what came out.
Looks way better than a web. If I hired a web developer, 99% of web developers couldn't make something this nice.
Yeah, my tool section is kind of buggy. So, I mean, that you do have to debug, and I haven't gotten there. But depending on what iteration, this one works better or worse. But I thought that would be a fun inspo for how to use transcripts, layered on with what I just showed with Claude Cowork. Again, you could see I have this tab open and this one, that one's in my web browser. This one is on my desktop. And we'll go back to our Flux analysis that we worked on together. We'll show that there. And let's see, it is still planning. So we had asked it, how do I make this repeatable? It's still working it out. Again, this is where you like go grab a coffee, take a meeting. And when you come back, it's like if you ask someone to strategize, like, okay, what's our strategy for automation? And you're like, oh, it's right here. So maybe this will be done by the end of it.
When I say that's something very interesting about my workflows that I've noticed changing is there's a real advantage to waking up in your day and having an objective when you're building with these tools of like, I'm going to build a Flux analysis tool, or I'm going to build a reconciliation tool or app, or for me the other day, like building a quiz test bank. And then just having that know that's going to be the back burner item for the day of I'm going to keep jumping to it because it's going to take time for whatever agentic tool you use to burn and work. And so making sure that you have a full day plan. It's not something that you're actively contributing to while you're working, right? It's something that you're partnering with, and it's like having a staff where you're coming back to it. And I've noticed, at least in my own workflows, where it can be dangerous is if you start something you don't anticipate it to take a long time, that's going to be wrong. I'd give it this is a good start of the workday task. You open up your Claude Cowork or whatever you're using, anti-gravity, you start the task for the day, and you have a plan to make some serious progress on it throughout the day, and then continue where you left off the next day. Because you're making some serious development. I think a lot of people I've met are kind of addicted to the speed of AI. And I have a lot of people who've been like, I want an answer in 10 seconds or less. And the reality is you're not going to get the answer you want when you start working on complex systems in 10 seconds or less, or even a minute or less. And so you're going to need to be able to multitask a bit, which is also contrary to what everyone's told us our whole lives. Like, you need to focus. Well, now you maybe need to multitask. So
yeah,
I don't know what
exactly.
your thoughts are on that. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I actually think that is the movement from chat, like that search, uploading, to Cowork, right? Truly like a teammate that will take time to do that task. You might want to set them up for the day, right? And then those large scale, complex automation systems, right? Like that doesn't happen immediately. And actually, when this plan comes out, it's probably going to ask me some questions. And actually, talking about new features, Anthropic came out with this feature called remote control, because as you know, sometimes it asks you questions just like a coworker does. Like, oh, what did you want to do with this? And you have to make some decisions. There's actually in Claude Code, I heard someone refer to this as the YOLO method. So it asks you, do you want to agree to all of these things as they come along, or do you want just to agree all, right? There are certainly questions that ask me that I have no idea what it's asking me. So the YOLO method would be for you to be just to say agree all, basically have full autonomy to do the whole thing, as opposed to stopping and checking in with me. And so that remote control feature that they built was actually so you can be in a meeting and be like, oh yeah, here's the decision, like make your decision during the meeting and like have it continue on its work.
Yeah, that's nuts. And I did see a few things to report out. I have seen in anti-gravity, they have the functionality where it debugs itself to an extent where I used to take screenshots, and I just found this out over the weekend. I'd take a screenshot of something broke, and then I'd upload it to anti-gravity. What I've noticed anti-gravity will do now, and I wonder if Claude Cowork could do, is it will take control of my desktop, screenshot itself of where something's an issue, and then upload it to anti-gravity to help debug itself if you give it access to your desktop, which that's kind of nuts. That was a new piece of whatever the model was doing over the weekend that kind of blew my mind. And then, let's see. And then the second piece was I have quite a network of people at Google because I worked there for so long. And I have been told that despite all of this technology, the most common tool everyone is still using at Google is chat, deep research, and Notebook LM. So like a lot of these places, even though these tools are available, no one's really using them to the extent of their real power. And it's interesting because their regular day jobs don't allow for it. They don't have the space and the curiosity to be able to mess with this stuff. And they're not able to put their own data or get extracts their own data in the ways that can automate some of this. So it's very interesting that we're in a unique space where you and I can play with this more than some of the companies who've developed the technology.
Yeah, well, access and governance is very, very real, especially because finance teams are working with sensitive data. I also feel like getting the new tools through InfoSec are very helpful. And I want to say that for finance and all this Excel stuff, it's actually quite new. Even Cowork. Cowork is like last month, mid-month, and on a PC, it didn't work until later in the month. So, I actually feel like a lot of these tools are just newly available, and it's like what to ask for from like getting through InfoSec, because I guarantee you whatever company you're working at, your engineers already use it. Sorry, I just went to this thing. I wanted to show a little bit here, because I think because all this is quite new, I actually went on a little treasure hunt to find things, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these tutorials here. I actually dropped this in the Gap Savvy Slack channel and AI shares. But I didn't know these existed, right? I don't know how many times I've been asked for trainings, and I'm like, oh, these are here. Look at this one. Excel for accounting revenue action model. It goes through SSP, and I'm like,
oh
what?
My gosh. Why? How do they have that? Why did?
This is these are new. This is why I'm like, we gotta stop de-shaming each other, because I did literally this plugin was the end of February, which is only 2 weeks ago. If I go into here, my same neural ops thing, look, I'm just gonna click this for fun, and I'm eating up my credits, but it's okay because kind of went nuts this month anyways.
Did you upgrade to Max yet or Ultra?
Yeah, this month is because I was gonna rebuild my website. B1 selected. Oh my gosh. So it's running in Excel, and again, I heard that ChatGPT just recently did their own as well. But again, the finance nuances with this last model, I think, have been really impressive. And you're seeing that it's working now directly in my Excel on-premise worksheet. Again, still has to go through InfoSec. Again, has to do that. But look, 3-statement model. What do you want? Let's just do board KPI dashboard. Let's do 4-month forecast.
Millions, yeah.
I don't even know how big these numbers are, though. What if they're not big enough?
They're not millions. They don't matter, Angela. You should know that.
This is coming from someone that used to work at Google. Does this plan look right before? See, look, it's asking me again. It's using that planning feature. I have not read this, but I'm going to say yes because we're recording.
It looks nice. Yeah,
it does look nice, but remember, it's always going to look nice. But now it's gonna build this. Oh, it's gonna give me some monthly accrual. Oh no, I thought that said accruals. I was like, how's it gonna get my accruals? I was like, I only gave it JEs.
I'm curious to see
so this is the plugin that I showed you those tutorials on, plus Cowork, blah blah blah. Again, this stuff is coming out like lightning fast. And so historical, sure.
Needs to add.
See, this is what I meant by allow once, always allow. That YOLO method would be like the always allowed in code. But I'm going to do this once. Oh my gosh. Should it have deduped that? I got to go check that. Okay, we're going to do this. See, you still have to keep your brain working. P&L subtitle. Yeah. These are very nuanced questions. If this was a staff person, I was like, yeah, just subtitle it. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd be mad at a staff person. Should I add a
See how you could easily get into this, but don't let your mind get lazy, right? Because don't go like full on YOLO method. Like build trust with the tool first.
I'm really fascinated to see the outcome. This is just. And what other plugins were there while this runs? What other plugins have you played with? I need to open it up and see what they have.
This is what I was referring to when we were talking earlier. I was like, we got to play with this thing. Okay, let's see what our little plugins are. Manage plugins, browse plugins. So I was thinking of doing, well, I'm very tempted to do this email thing, productivity. I thought this one was interesting. The data one.
Fascinating.
Legal, I want to play with a little later. Product management PRDs. Slack could be an interesting one, especially with community. Brand voice, I thought was also interesting from like a newsletter perspective. Design is always helpful, even though I think it's Anthropic's design is quite elegant. Personal, see how you can make your own. I wanted to show. I did create one skill while I was playing around with this, and I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything, but the one skill that I created was a NetSuite JE formatter. I wanted to show this because I wanted to show you how very text it is.
Yeah. All skills are text-based markdowns. Yeah, markdown files.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to like visually see them to be like, okay, like I can do that. And to make skills, you just need to turn on Skill Creator and then maybe watch some YouTube videos. But this is where I am on my journey, and I always feel like anywhere anyone is on a journey is helpful.
That's awesome. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, and you could see like all it's doing is it's in Markdown, right?
Yeah. And what it's doing is it's reading this instructions before it does anything, so it doesn't assume everything in the world. It only follows what you're training it before you're training the trainer in some kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. You're teaching skills, right?
Yeah.
And then as your little coworker gets better, it has more and more skills, and it could compound and accumulate those skills. So it's quite. So see how it's like it showed me that it was active task. Oh, look at my progress bar. That thing's done. Oh, it's still thinking.
Sorry, we destroyed your credits.
That's okay. Okay, did I show you everything that I played with this week?
No, the only thing we need to see,
show you one more thing.
Did it make the charts? Did it make the charts? I'm curious.
Oh, this one? Oh, it's still asking me questions. Okay, let's do this. Sorry, we're like multitasking with lots of different things. Let me fix the range. Yeah, it's still thinking about live. Oh, look. Well, I'm going to go through this a little bit, just see the historical P&L. Growth rates, by scaling, margin. Yeah, I feel like this would be something really interesting, especially like forecasting skills packs, giving it more context on the past, loading in more historicals, right? Letting it, like AI is really a pattern matching tool, essentially, right? Like as it goes through this neural network, it's looking for patterns. So the more you give it to create those patterns, the more useful. And obviously that is exactly what we're doing when we forecast things. Okay, maybe we'll wait for this one to finish out and then
I'd ask for more stuff. It's asking over a lot of permission, huh?
Yeah, you can see how you want to get real lazy real fast.
Yeah.
But this is a different, it's a different sequence and feeling, right? From like your chat.
Oh, very much so. It's very collaborative, and it's making so many more decisions, and it's burned through credits a lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just destroy.
But you said something really important, which is making decisions, right? Like I think that is like taking action and making decisions. That is exactly kind of what we're looking for with like, when people say human in the loop or like all of that is designed of where you're making those decisions. Claude wants to assumptions section.
Good job, Claude.
Show more. Are you asking about colors? I don't care about colors. Show me rates. Arial 10.
It's doing a good job. It knows its audience. It knows it's going for executives. They don't care more about presentation than...
Yeah, you can't use those like red and orange colors because then people get freaked out. Oh, wait, look at this. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this was happening. Look at these tabs.
They built the tabs. Let's see how it did. Looks beautiful.
It's literally creating tabs in my... Let's watch this get built out.
I think you need to allow it to make the assumptions.
Oh, sorry. Allow. Should I just always allow this thing? It's dummy data. I'm going to always allow for this thing.
Yeah.
Because just we got to get through it. But look, you can see it building now. This is interesting. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to always allow. We can't do this right now. Gosh, what's fun is that we get to watch it build in Excel. Again, I'm like on my computer in Excel. Like does not like Microsoft's weird cloud version.
I'm just nerding out a little bit because it's just, I remember living so much of my life in Excel and building out models like this and it taking so long, like so painstakingly long. And now it just does it for you.
I think this was a big part in Anthropic moving forward in the finance accounting space, because I don't know how many people that I've talked to like, we're going to kill Excel. And I'm like, I don't think you understand what we're doing in Excel. Like, we're thinking
Yeah.
in Excel. We're building
Yeah.
in Excel. We're doing all the edge stuff in Excel. And so when you're building product, often you go for what, you call happy path or your first use case. And you're like, but you don't understand, like, finance is not about, like, it's about all the stuff around it. And I feel like that's like understanding and studying those patterns, right? Which is the way you train a model, right? Giving it a data set that understands the way we navigate through Excel, the relationships in Excel. Like, I think that's really what moved it forward, because it actually captures the mindset of someone in finance and accounting.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, you completely nailed it. And people just don't understand that. Everyone thinks in Excel you're just doing bookkeeping or something like that, right? Or just crunching the numbers. But I can't tell you how many models I built. Like when 606 came out, we like really thought through how to apply the guidance using the models, or like building valuation frameworks. You really make decisions on how to buy or sell or what to do with certain areas of the business based on the models and understand the questions that you're going to ask. And Excel is such an extension of,
Absolutely.
completely agree with you.
Look how fun this is to watch this thing build out.
And I wonder, like, yeah, is it using arrays? Is it index matching? All those formulas that we had to learn in order to do this stuff and be Excel wizards, just
Oh, look at
nonsense.
that. That's a
Yeah.
formula.
These are forecasts it's building forecasts out.
But the fact that they're building full formulas,
Yeah.
like auditable formulas, right?
Yeah. I wonder if it'll color code the formula cells. Let's see if it gets to it.
I mean, in another one, like when we did this AI finance lab, it did. It actually like color coded. These are assumptions. These are
Reference files. These are reference cells. These are formulaic cells. Well, it finishes this. What was the other thing that you wanted to show me? We got another 10 minutes. I'm curious.
It'd be a change. I was just gonna show you like quickly what I learned in Lovable, but I feel like for the finance accounting community, like this is way more exciting. Which I can pop over, but I'm also kind of enjoy watching build.
Yeah, okay. Let's just stick on this, and you can show me Lovable next time, or I can show you.
I mean, I could flash up
message
my
me.
mini project.
What were you building while I was building this?
I was just trying to rebuild the Gap Savvy website.
Oh, okay.
But it was also the first time I had delved a little deeper into Lovable. And so I learned different techniques, like having Claude actually fill out these like templates for like a PRD, a design system, things like that, and then uploading it to, in a way, conserve credits and be more forward thinking about my plan. So this is kind of where the website is within Lovable. And there are different techniques, like all the tools have slightly different things. But it has like community, resources, events, partners. Some of this is still dummy data, but again, this is like designed more for building websites and apps and websites. And it was just really fun to
cool.
play, play credit free in a way. Because sometimes I find myself like, and I could show a couple other things. Sometimes I find myself not doing things because I'm afraid I'll run out of credits, which is kind of silly. That I'm like, I don't want to like run out of credits, so like I'm not going to try this thing. So in a way, just the psychological freedom of doing that was really helpful. And then I'll actually, because like, so like this prompt, for example, actually Claude came up with it for me, and then I dropped this prompt in here to basically have my initial build be a lot more concise and faster once I had worked out these things. And so like it's building up 5 pages. But to be totally honest, the first time I built it, I didn't do that. Again, I was kind of free, and like free credits made me a lot more bold in terms of let me show you my projects folder. I made a couple versions of this. Like it always just names it for you. But like this one, I didn't use the templates, and I was just like dropping in and asking for random things. Honestly, it was super inefficient the way I was building, but it was good for me to learn that at some point I was like, I don't know how to fix this thing. And then I like reverted to the old ones. And I'm like, I don't like the colors. What should we do that first, or should we connect it to the back end? And I was like, what about these colors? I probably burned through way too many credits on my first build. And then the second time around, I actually watched this like training video, and I created these 4 templates, which were actually, I feel like I still have them. It's this guy that's a trainer out in the UK called Frank Diaz. He came up with this thing, and there's 3 templates, or 4: the PRD, the design template, the coding template, and the security standards, which like I would have never thought of that. And then I just asked Claude to populate those for me after like telling it what my website was, what I wanted. And then I uploaded them into Lovable to make my build more efficient.
That's cool. It looks great. This screen looks great. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is like these tools, and I always catch myself too of these tools are so effective, but I'm so scared to not get a good deal on them. Like I don't have a max plan, and I regularly get constrained on credit usage, and I regularly am afraid to use credits to build something because it can get very expensive very quickly. But compared to what it used to cost, it's nothing, right? Like $200 a month compared to hiring an expert for a couple hours. It would never be possible. So, oh, it finished. Let's see. I want to see the charts. I'm excited about the charts.
Oh, we missed the chart build out. Okay, ready? Let's go. Okay. I was like expecting a little better, but it's just because like it's so good at UI, but we are in Excel. So those are the tools I was using. Wow, the dummy data created was weird. What is going on here?
Yeah, something looks off. It's like a smooth trajectory, and then things get funny. Maybe there's cyclical issues.
To be fair, it's dummy data. And so maybe something happened. Why is ARR so... Was that ARR? ARR trajectory in millions. Actual forecast. Look, wait. Did this transition from a SaaS company to a usage company? How very real.
That's a trip, huh?
It flipped, like December 2026. Okay, something's going on here. I probably need to check some of it. This feels a little weird because I thought I gave it 2025 data. Yeah.
I think it made a forecast. I think it made a forecast in the
Oh, right.
data.
Thank you. We're forecasting. This is the future.
Yeah, future. And it did some weird forecasts. So something happened in that forecast that
I wish these had 2025 and 2026 so I could see the visuals together, and I probably could ask for that.
You probably could. Wow, thanks for showing me. This is nuts.
Yeah, there we go. This is what I've learned in a week or a couple weeks.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe we got to change this to like
just like
AI
what
weekly
did you
update.
play with this week?
Yeah, AI play day. What did you play with? And let's just experiment and toss it back and forth or something, because that's how fast it's moving.
It's crazy.
And I'm sure people would appreciate it. That could be relevant too, right? It's like, hey, I don't know, you check with the Gap Savvy community, or I'll check with my audience, but I know my students would love this. And you're just like, this is what was released this week, and this is what we played with.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we'd easily fill the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I'll stop recording, and then we can just catch up for a minute before. This is awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, this is fun.